boxing, but we had a major upset in the heavyweight division. Joshua used to play baseball, okay? The Diaz-Joshua result is a huge upset, with Diaz getting the knockout at big odds. Did you have any takers on the underdog?
Unfortunately, we did, guys. Wasn't a great outcome for us. It wasn't, quite
Ruiz,
Tyson Buster Douglas, but it was not a winning outcome. I think, when it comes to heavyweights, and for whatever reason, Joshua, I know that he, was looked upon as the guy that could potentially get in there with Wilder and Tyson Fury, but I still questioned who he had beaten. And, you looked at Ruiz and only one loss. I mean, you look at his record right now. I mean, the guy is pretty impressive overall. I think he's 33-1 with 22 knockouts. And people that really followed boxing said they thought he had a puncher's chance, and he did. So it really kind of wreaked havoc on that division right now. Is that we all hoped for that Wilder-Joshua fight that unfortunately in boxing sometimes never seems to happen until guys are past their prime. And now you have to wonder with Fury and Wilder and Ruiz where it all shakes out. But I thought the kid fought a really, really good fight and was impressive. He was really impressive to me.
It was a stunner. And, and I called him Diaz. It's obviously Ruiz. Wilder and Tyson Fury is now at least agreed upon in principle for early 2020, assuming Wilder gets through his rematch with the Cuban guy, and he should. So that's going to be the biggest heavyweight fight we've had in a lot of years because it's a rematch. It was a real good battle the first time around, and it's good to see because boxing has been lacking.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, it is good to see, but I mean, listen to what you just said.
I know
this is the most, this is the most anticipated and arguably marquee heavyweight fight in God knows how long. I mean, you talk about what boxing was, and it's an unfortunate thing. I love boxing. I was fortunate enough to attend a lot of the outdoor fights at Caesars and the Las Vegas Hilton. And it just is magnetic of what it brings to the not just to the sports books and to the sport itself, but to the entire valley, the economic impact, and it's sorely missed. And hopefully that with some of these guys it gets back to where it was. But it's a shame that we have to put the potential huge heavyweight fight in the same sentence as this is the first big heavyweight fight we've had, and we can't remember how long.
Chuck, did you have any people play the dog for more than a few $100s?
No, there was nothing significant, guys. But still, I mean, you take a chance when it's that big of a price. You had a lot of guests that took chances, tied them up in some parlays, and it was a not a positive outcome on the fight for our side of the counter. And from what I've heard, industry wide,
I'm going to assume this wasn't a positive outcome for you either, and not because I had Patrick Cantley.
Which you did.
Well, I did, but my bet didn't break any books. But there were a lot of sharps who had Patrick Cantley on top of their tickets and in matchups at the Memorial. So I'm assuming this was not one of the great golf results of the year for the house.
Actually, when you looked at kind of the weekend in sports, guys, you had so many favorites that dominated in baseball. You look at especially Saturday, and that trend continued a little bit on Sunday. You had the Bruins who, and that game go over. You had the Warriors come back. Bettors had a good weekend. They were pretty much smiling, the ones that I've seen at the counter today, smiling pretty good and had an overall good weekend, and that included the golf and boxing as well as we go into this week's game.
And this week will be the final leg of this year's Triple Crown. They're heading to New York City for the Belmont. It's not going to be the all-time superstar field for the Belmont. There's no Triple Crown at stake. And I think this is similar to what we saw going into the Preakness, where it's like, geez, this is a wide-open race. This is a good betting race. I think it's going to be the same thing with the Belmont, Chuck.
I agree with you. We were just talking about that I was pleasantly surprised with the handle that was generated for Preakness. And I think the same thing for Belmont. I mean, not only that race, but you look at all the stakes races that Belmont has on their card that day. We're going to offer a $15,000 Twin Q.
Wow.
So I still think you're going to see a really good handle race day. It is a wide open field, and sometimes you get a good handle with that because you're going to get some better prices. We talked about that. I know the three of us heading into the Preakness, and I think the same thing will hold true going into the Belmont, that you're going to have an opportunity there for some really good prices to tie in to some of those exotic bets.
You know, some of the early action in the Belmont, it looks like Tacitus and War of Will be under 5-1 as the favorites, and every one will probably be closer to 15-1 and higher. So a lot of parlays, a lot of exactas, trifectas that we've seen big payouts, and that certainly could continue again.
Yeah, absolutely. As I mentioned, I think when those exotics come, you're going to have people that are tying a lot of those horses in. Maybe they target one of the first two favorites, but they're going to look at a lot of those prices, and I think similar to what you saw in the Preakness, you're going to see a really good bet race.
By the way, I forgot to touch on this. Liverpool and Tottenham settled things on Saturday. My timeline on Twitter was absolutely packed with soccer conversation. How was the book? How was the response at the books? I assume it was well attended and a heavy volume.
Oh, it was tremendous. I mean, great crowd out there. Anytime you have one of these big international soccer games going on and a championship game, you get huge crowds out there, and they're loud. I mean, I think soccer, bettors are some of the loudest because of the passion they have for the sport and their countries and the club teams that they follow. So it was good. I mean, there's so much on the betting board right now, guys. We're always, again, looking to expand and improve on the product that's out there and give our guests something back, that when you've got games throughout the day in any sport, but a game like that in soccer, which is, such a worldwide sport, it was really good for us.
Chuck, you had mentioned earlier about the World Series, the College World Series, and, we're coming out of the regionals into the super regionals. Does the handle increase as we move and we get to Wichita? And has the handle increased over the last few years in College World Series action?
It absolutely has, guys. We used to wait until the College World Series when it was set and they moved into the regionals, but we've started now putting many of the games up well in advance of that. Again, there's such a correlation, which we've talked about, between betting and being able to watch a game. There's been a lot of demand for the women's softball, which I love watching. It's fun to watch when you've got some of these games. Unfortunately, again, for us, we have a vested interest in everything, regardless of what it is. But anything we can put up, again, to generate some fan interest and to increase handle, I think we're willing to do, and that's been the case with both the women's softball and the men's baseball right now.
But you know what's not on the board, and there's no reason for it to be on the board, and that's really the sad thing. We started this conversation off about talking about lagging fan interest in baseball, and we'll close it the same way. Today is the Major League Baseball draft. There is absolutely no buzz about it. There's no betting anywhere that I know of on props or anything like that. That sport's got to get its head out of its butt. They're not dealing in the 21st century, and it's showing.
I think probably for the baseball draft, I'm looking forward to watching it.
Yeah, so am I.
Several Vegas kids, involved in it. I think it's just maybe the confusion of how it works. I think there's so much information out there, and I agree with what you said. I think there's so much information out there leading into the football, the basketball, and the hockey draft of exactly how it works, that I think there's some confusion with international compensation and picks, and if you sign a player before the draft, you lose the rights to the draft position. I think you're right, though. That needs to be made clear, and then hopefully in the not-too-distant future, you see that become more of a sport that you can wager on going into the draft as well.
It's supposed to be a big event. This is your next generation of superstars. And, in fact, there's a couple of guys at the top of the draft this year who are basically can't miss stars.
Right.
And nobody knows about it. I mean, you got to do a better job with your brain. I don't know. Here's what it is. Baseball kind of just throws its doors open and says, we're a traditional sport. Come and watch us. You can't do it that way anymore. You guys know this. They ought to take a page out of the books of the Las Vegas casinos, and particularly station casinos, because you guys never stop promoting. You're going to get people in the building no matter what you do, but you never stop promoting, and that's the whole idea.
Yeah, I'm a draftnik, guys. I'll be watching the baseball draft, the NBA draft, and even way more in the NHL draft. I'm such a passionate hockey fan with the Knights and Blackhawks, but I agree. I think the attendance numbers, I think, speak volumes. Yep. And again, when you see numbers in the other sports that continue to go up and handle from the betting side continue to go up, that there is some concern with baseball, and I think some of these rule changes about even, the plays that they replay and about a catcher guarding home plate. I mean, I think if you ask a lot of people plays that they remember in baseball, you remember Pete Rose running over Ray Fosse and some of those plays at home plate, and I think they've just tweaked the rules so much now that they're confusing to so many people that they don't understand, America's pastime like they did a decade ago, in my opinion.
One of the college players that will be drafted at first, second, or third this past weekend, he comes up to base is loaded. They intentionally walk him with the bases loaded. I mean, that's the respect he gets, and those are the players that you're going to watch get drafted.
And by the way, we'll have a UNLV kid going probably top 10, the shortstop, and I just blanked out on his name because this is what happens when you get old, but he's a really big-time prospect coming out of UNLV baseball. So Rebels will be on the board early in today's draft.
They absolutely will. I think there's actually a couple of players that are going to go pretty high, so that's great. That's great. But Rebel baseball has always been really good, and it's put a number of guys into baseball. So it is fun to be rooting for some of the hometown boys as well.
It's Stott. That's the kid's name.
Yeah,
there's some really good shortstops in this year's draft. He's going to be as good as any of them, and I think he's going to be a fast mover. By the way, for UNLV fans, might agree with this. This kid could be in the majors in 2 years.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. As you mentioned, the couple of kids at the top, though, these kids are phenomenal, and I think they're going to be able to make an immediate impact, and it wouldn't surprise me to see them get up there pretty quick.
Chuck, a reminder about what's going on this week at Sunset Station, and all the station casinos, but the Sunset Station, you're going to have a real good gamble out there for people who want to take a shot at getting it right at the Belmont.
Yeah, it's a $15,000 Twin Q, guys. Some of the bigger races, we've had individual winners. Where you're kind of cashing the whole prize. So a $2 investment, you have that opportunity, I think more so in a field like this, where you're going to have some bombers potentially in there. You could be maybe one of the only winners. So $15,000 Twin Q. It's a great crowd, a great card at Belmont with all the stakes races that day. Just going to be a lot of fun. So come on out, have some fun, enjoy the day, and all of our books, we make a huge commitment, not just to the sports side, but the reinvestment of the race side too, with all the TVs at race seats and the big screens and audio on there. We want to make sure that our race guests have a great time. And don't forget, just like over the counter and on the mobile app, you're acquiring points with every bet that you make. So come on out, have some fun, and good luck this week, guys.
Thank you, Chuck. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Chuck Esposito does an awesome job out at Sunset Station, one of my favorite spots in town. Make it one of yours as well. We'll come back. We'll get to our Joe's Angle of the Day and the Monday, MJ Christensen 4-4.
The Las Vegas Sports Line.
When it comes to dependability in car batteries, no one beats Interstate Batteries. Interstate Batteries has been providing outrageously dependable starting power for over 65 years. With over 200,000 dealers nationwide, there's one near you. Just click on interstatebatteries.com.
Come meet Las Vegas Lights FC goalie Thomas Olsen this Thursday at 1:30 as Findlay Volkswagen presents Lunch with the Lights. The first 50 fans in line will receive a free Lights t-shirt. Lunch with the Lights this Thursday at 1:30 at Findlay Volkswagen at the Valley Auto Mall in Henderson.
With John Lyons from Lyons Physical Therapy, the ratings for LPT are as good as they get, 5 out of 5 stars. What makes Lyons Physical Therapy unique as a treatment option?
Yeah, Dave, and we're thankful for that. We've had great patients and customers over the years that have given us honest reviews. I think what separates us from other companies is that we pay attention to our patients. We individualize their treatment plan. We take our time and use our manual therapy skills and our hands to actually work on every patient. These patients aren't just a number. We're actually trying to help them, and we listen to their needs and what works best for them.
LionsPTLV.com, 702-476-0222.
Hi, this is Ido Gavish with Century 21 Gavish Real Estate. Whether you're buying or selling, visit our website at GavishRealEstate.com. Remember, there's only one Century 21 Gavish. Capiche?
Yes, air conditioning and plumbing, keeping you cool in the summer, warm in the winter, and available anytime your plumbing won't go with the flow. Schedule your air conditioning or plumbing checkup at 888-4937, 888-4937, or go to theyesmancan.com.
License number 71246 and 71233.
We're here with Chuck, founder of Dollar Loan Center. Now, I know I hate the real treadmill, but what's this debt treadmill I hear about all the time?
Well, a debt treadmill is a trap with a lot of payday loan companies out there, especially some of the online scammers. It basically means you keep paying interest over and over and your principal never goes down.
So my loan would never get paid off in